Welcome into the live desk. You are taking a live look right now at CPKC Stadium as we look ahead to the NWSL Championship matchup that will be taking place in Kansas City this upcoming Saturday. So much excitement is building around our community right now. Thank you so much for joining me here at the live desk. I am Janae Hancock, joined by Beth Peak, who is a photographer here at KCTV 5. Beth, welcome to the live desk. How's it going?
Good, thanks. First time for everything.
I know, and I am, this is the peak of my day, like I already told you, hence to your last name. But Beth, we typically don't see you in front of the camera. You're normally
Absolutely not. Yeah.
You're normally behind the camera, and I want to show our viewers why. The story that you have been working on here lately, covering prepping the pitch. It has been, as we know, such an historic year at CPKC Stadium. The Current played their first season inside of the stadium. The team kicked off to the playoffs, and now the stadium is set to host the NWSL Championship matchup on Saturday, the Orlando Pride against the Washington Spirit. So you went out and shot this story, Beth. Tell us who you spoke to and just kind of what's going on with this story. Prepping the pitch, what's it about?
Yeah, so I talked to the general manager of CPKC Stadium. Her name's Stephanie Tomlin. Super cool. And I talked to Ben Aiken, who is the vice president of community relations for the Kansas City Current. And it was kind of looking at, I think the stadium's been in the spotlight this whole season just because of, it's the first of its kind, purpose-built women's sports stadium. And they're used to that. What they're not used to is the amount of play they've had on the stadium and then getting it ready for the biggest game of the year, which is the championship game. So it was kind of like, what does it take to get that stadium from basically almost like a shell of silence into like the complete fan experience that people have when they get there.
And there is a lot of pressure that obviously goes into it. I mean, like you mentioned, first stadium built for a women's professional sports team. But let's kind of talk about everything that goes into it. So I know they have an underground heat system, which I thought was pretty interesting. Tell us a little bit more about what they told you about that.
Yeah, so Stephanie, it was really cool to talk to her because she was like, I'm such a nerd about this. And she got really technical with like all of the grass and the things they're doing.
Yeah.
So she told me they have two types of grass. They have ryegrass, they have Bermuda grass. The Bermuda grass they usually use in the warmer months. And she was like, it's been rough because they wanted to transition to ryegrass, but they couldn't. The Bermuda was still looking good. And she was like, but with the it's getting dark earlier now. We have way less sunlight. It's cooler temperatures. So they did this really cool thing where they covered the field, and she said, it's not tarps, but we're calling it, for the purpose of this conversation, we'll call it tarps.
Yeah.
They covered the field with these tarps, and then they turned the heat on under the field. And on top of that, they put lights out on the sections of the field that weren't getting sunlight, and they basically made like a greenhouse on the field. Which is so
cool, yeah.
Yeah, and she was like, and that's how we've been able, at one point they had 10 games in 6 days, and you couldn't, the pitch is beautiful. Like it still looks
brand new.
Yeah.
Like they just started.
Yes, and part of that is because they innovated this like greenhouse right on top of the pitch.
And we saw it there in the video. Let's play it again, and you may see it when you go out to the stadium. But what I also thought was so interesting, Beth, just reading up on the stadium and its history so far, they have an all-female grounds crew working. And you don't hear about that. This is the first in league history.
Yeah, they have. I don't know if it's all female grounds crew. I saw a couple guys out there. The majority of the people on the grounds crew, it's an all female team, and like almost every person I saw out there, like right there, it is. I mean, it's a female led organization too, and it's a cool thing to witness. I played sports growing up, so like for me it was a cool moment
every day, Beth.
Yeah. It was a cool moment.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of really positive energy coming from that place, and it was cool to witness it behind the scenes, because I think everybody gets it when it's game day and there's a ton of energy, but even when it's empty and it's just the people working there, it was still such an experience to be there.
And I know Tomlin said a lot of the workers, they just don't get any sleep, but they still come in, like you touched on, with a positive mindset, just ready to kind of share that with the community. So speaking of the community, let's talk about community relations, because I know you also touched on that within your story. What kind of role does that play, and what do they do to really get
Huge.
our area involved?
Huge. So Ben was saying, and it's interesting in the story, he was like, usually we have a couple of months to prepare for something like this. For these stories or for these games, we only had a couple weeks. And so he said what they really do is around town here, when the Current were still in the playoffs, they had those teal time clocks everywhere. They had the chalk marks all over the ground. But the really high energy stuff is happening right outside the stadium at CPKC Plaza. And there's like airbrush tattoo artists and people giving out flags. And it's just like very high energy. There's music everywhere. There's that big CPKC baby sign where people are taking pictures. They have players out there early for autograph sessions. And you see a lot of young girls out there who are there for the environment, and they are very good, and they get the whole community involved. They get restaurants involved, and so it's like building this energy around the team and the stadium.
And really involving the community. I love the fact that you touched on the fact that they get the young girls that are there as well, because they're looking up to these players and they're also a part of history. What is the stadium, the people who work at the stadium, in charge of the stadium, what do they want fans to take away from the overall experience? And that goes from the grounds, what happens inside, and also what happens outside as far as the community is concerned.
Right. They want this to be a full fan experience. And so I think especially right now, women's sports are in such a surge.
Right.
And what Ben said is something I think that stuck with me is they want people to leave the stadium, whether it's the Current playing or not. They want every fan to leave the stadium and think Kansas City really knows how to do it right. So they want them to leave with super memorable moments. A stadium that is pristine. It is so clean. The grounds crew keeps the pitch clean. They keep. They were saying they power wash between the seats. So they want.
And
they
you
want
can
people,
tell. You can literally tell. I know. It just speaks for itself when you go. Just the excitement. And you just feel like you are witnessing, you are a part of history. And I love what Tomlin said is, we have been ready since day one. She said that in your story. And you can just, you can really just tell that once you step inside and once you look at your story. Beth, when can we watch your story and learn a little bit more about it?
Yeah, so the story airs tonight at 10 on KCTV, our 10 o'clock newscast. It's also already on our website. You can stream it there. And we'll have a little bit of a preview at 6 p.m. tonight. But the big story is at 10 o'clock tonight.
And we are looking forward to it. Beth Peak, thank you so much for joining me here at the live desk. As far as our viewers are concerned, taking a look at your screen right now, again, the NWSL Championship is just hours away right here in Kansas City. The Orlando Pride and the Washington Spirit quickly becoming the biggest game in NWSL history. At last check, tickets sit around $65 with less than 100 remaining, so you definitely want to get your hands on that if you plan on going to the game. But if you miss out on tickets, you don't have to miss out on the game. You can watch the championship from your couch Saturday night. The game kicks off at 7 o'clock, and you can watch it on KCTV5. I also want to direct you to our website, kctv5.com, where we have everything you need to know. We outlined it all, and our coverage is really just getting started. I know we're live during our 4 o'clock newscast right now, but you can catch us all evening long and into tomorrow morning, I should say. And, of course, our coverage on Saturday. Beth, again, thank you so much for joining me here at the live desk.
Yeah, thank you.